This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to this webinar on C-NRP protocol for conducting short-term radon measurements in air. This is a continuing education course to review this document. There is a separate webinar that will review the karst guideline on radon assessments during a real estate transaction. So we're strictly discussing the short-term document here. Just a little bit of background about why we developed this document. It's to provide guidance for C-NRPP radon measurement professionals on conducting short-term radon measurements. We know there is some information in Canada and the Health Canada guideline on short-term measurements, but it is not complete. We also know that the EPA has methods that many professionals across Canada were looking to for guidance. And we also know that some people were following their own guidance, and so we wanted to make sure that there was proper fences so that we knew and had some consistency across the country on minimum standards for conducting short-term measurements. And we've worked hard to work with committees across the country and with Health Canada to ensure that we have support as we've developed these documents. And so that's gone into many of the changes or the recommendations that we've made as we've developed the document. So to put this in context, short-term measurements should always be part of a two-step process of short-term and long-term follow-up measurements. And so just to emphasize this, C-NRPP and Health Canada strongly recommend that any and all short-term radon measurements be followed up with a long-term radon measurement. So again, in Canada, we emphasize the fact that we are using long-term radon measurements as our gold standard. But we acknowledge that there is a place for short-term radon measurements, and if they are going to be conducted, we want to make sure that certain guidance is followed. If the radon measurement is being conducted for a real estate transaction, additional guidance is provided by the karst guideline for conducting a radon screening assessment as part of the real estate transaction of a residential dwelling in Canada. So that document should be followed if it is for a real estate transaction. In that case, both of these documents will be required, and that document will refer to some measures of the short term, but we'll discuss kind of what's over and above at the end of this webinar. And you can refer to the webinar specifically on the real estate transactions. That's also available online. Okay, so discussing test lengths, short-term radon measurements. Radon measurement test, which has a duration of ranging from 48 hours to 90 days, is defined as a short-term radon measurement. A long-term radon measurement is one that has a duration longer than 90 days. And the purpose of the radon measurement should provide some context for the length of the measurement. The longer the duration of the test, the more representative of the average annual radon concentration. And we do have some definitions further on in the document for durations. Just some quick examples of this, though. Post-mitigation radon measurement would be a minimum of 48 hours, where a real estate assessment test must be a minimum of 4 days. Now, occupancy is important to consider when conducting radon measurements because the use and the operation of the home may affect the radon measurement results. The radon test is meant to provide an understanding of occupant exposure, and it's important to ensure the test is conducted during a time that's representative of their typical living conditions. These should be considered when choosing a test, when, where, and how long to conduct the radon test. And consideration should be given to occupancy pattern during the day, evening, and weekend. As a result, 7-day tests should be considered and may provide a better representation because we know that some people use their house different during the week than they do on the weekends, during the day than they may in the evenings. And so lengthening the test to 7 days may provide a better representation of their occupants' use of their home. And an important factor in the use, which devices to use. So the C-NRPP approved measurement devices are listed on the C-NRPP website. Only the C-NRPP devices for short-term radon measurements shall be used to perform short-term radon measurements. No substitution should be made. And so it's important to note that these will be integrating devices. All measurement devices should be used in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. So over and above the guidance presented in our document, the manufacturer's instructions should be followed. Some important definitions, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. A couple acronyms that may be used throughout the document. CRT is a radon measurement professional. CRMT is a C-NRPP radon mitigation professional. CAL is a C-NRPP certified radon analytical laboratory. And then the devices definitions: continuous radon monitor or radon measurement devices that can provide radon measurements of increments of 1 hour or shorter. The device must be capable of logging and producing a radon report of the data. True passive integrating measurement devices are radon measurement devices which are true passive time or dose integrating devices which do not require power to conduct measurements. These include alpha track detectors and electric ion chambers. Another definition which is important is the concept of side-by-side or collated measurements. So when a passive radon measurement device is used, duplicate measures shall be used. So 2 detectors shall be placed side by side in close proximity, so not more than 20 centimeters apart, or as per manufacturer's recommendation. However, when a continuous radon monitor is used, a single device is adequate. Now, our placement guidance follow the Health Canada's measurement guidance, but we've added some criteria due to the short-term duration consideration. So a radon detector shall be placed in the lowest occupied level, and occupied is defined as a space that's used for 4 hours a day or more. And so in most cases, this is going to be in the basement of the home. However, if the location chosen is the main floor, and the occupants are anticipating renovating their basement or moving out of the house, and the basement space, which may not currently be occupied, could be occupied in the future, the test should be placed in the area which would be occupied in the future for a possible of 4 hours a day or more. And just to be clear, this is for residential dwellings only. So a residential dwelling is a dwelling of 4 units or less. And it's important to define a responsible person, which is the individual responsible for the dwelling, who will be able to ensure all requirements of the radon measurement test are followed. Okay, and we referred to this a little bit before, but just to be clear, a post-mitigation radon measurement is a radon test which has a duration of at least 48 hours and is conducted at least 24 hours after a radon mitigation measures have been undertaken. The detector is to be placed in the same location as a radon measurement that was used as a basis for the decision to mitigate. And it must be followed up with a long-term radon measurement test during the first heating season following the installation of the radon mitigation. So again, a 2-step process. Short-term radon, post-mitigation radon measurement shall be followed with a long-term radon mitigation or radon measurement test. Placement location, again, lowest occupied level, defined as a space used for a minimum 4-hour day or more. And again, if the occupants are anticipating renovating the basement, or it could be occupied in the future, then that location should be considered for 4 hours a day or more. But the location should not be chosen bathrooms, kitchen, crawl spaces, sump pits, or laundry rooms. And again, just to emphasize, the guidance should be followed from Health Canada's radon measurement procedure for residential dwellings or homes. Now, additional considerations should be made. One includes homes with multiple heating, ventilation, or air conditioning systems. So multiple HVAC systems or ducting systems within a home. An additional device shall be used in a second occupied location. So placement guidance and occupied definitions should be followed, but the 2 locations should reflect a sample from each ventilation zone, and all levels, radon levels, should be reported on the radon test report, and reference should be made so that it's clear the radon level and the location of the device is clear so that each can be determined. Now, another additional consideration should be homes with combination foundations. So radon concentrations may vary in a building where the building possesses a split level foundation, a slab on grade room, or a room over a crawl space. These issues should be defined, and an additional device should also be placed in these locations. Proper placement guidance should be followed. If additional measurement devices are used, all levels shall be reported on the radon test report, again, with clear reference to which level is for which location of the device placement. Third additional consideration is severe weather. A period of unusual high winds, which we've defined as 50 kilometers an hour, gusting winds, or rapid changes in barometric pressure can cause rapid changes to radon levels in the dwelling. A short-term measurement of 4 days or less shall not be conducted during periods of severe weather. The measurement should be delayed or repeated when the severe weather is no longer in effect, or extended past the 4-day period. Closed house conditions must be maintained for short-term testing, and they're necessary to allow the radon levels to stabilize. This will provide a more representative estimate of the level of radiation the homeowner could be exposed to. And we have defined closed house conditions in this document to include: windows should stay closed at all times, external doors opened for entry and exit, attached garage doors should be opened only for entry and exit, fireplaces should not be operated during the radon test unless it's for a primary heat source. Clothes dryers, range hood, and bathroom fan operations should be limited to minimum necessary. Heat recovery ventilator, or an HRV, and an energy recovery ventilator, ERV, shall be left to operate or not operate as found. So for example, if the HRV is plugged in and working, that's fine. It can be left plugged in and working during the duration of the test. However, if the HRV is unplugged, it should be left unplugged for the duration of the short-term test. And radon mitigation systems shall be operated as normal. Now, for tests of 4 days or less, closed house conditions will be started 12 hours immediately prior to starting the test and maintained for the duration of the test. If a test is 4 days or more, the closed house conditions shall be established at the time of the start of the test and should be maintained for the duration of the test. The longer the duration of the measurement, consideration should be given to having closed house conditions be more representative of regular occupational use and operation of the dwelling. Inform the occupant and or the responsible person of the closed house requirements. Also, the document on the radon test report any concerns, suspicions, or observed variances regarding closed house conditions. Now, signage is important when conducting radon measurements, especially when closed house conditions are required. So a notification stating radon measurement in process, or wording could also say indoor air quality test in progress, shall be posted in conspicuous locations such as the inside of all exterior doors, stating the required conditions of the measurement and contact information of the C-NRPP radon measurement professional. Now, there must be an inspection conducted before and after the radon test. So preliminary inspection is a visual inspection of the dwelling, shall be conducted before device placement to ensure all closed house conditions are met. If closed house conditions are not met or have not been in place for 12 hours before the radon measurement begins, postpone the start of the radon measurement for 12 hours or extend the radon measurement to more than 4 days, or activate the device features on the continuous radon monitor to delay the start time of the test and ensure that it's left in place for a minimum of 60 hours. The post-test inspection must include a visual inspection of the dwelling and be conducted upon the device retrieval to ensure all closed house conditions were still met and all anti-interference measures were still maintained or undisturbed. If closed house conditions were not met, the radon test could be considered void and must be repeated. Now, if retesting must be completed, a retest may be required due to interference, severe weather, or other quality assurance concerns. The additional test shall be performed in the same location as the initial sampling location unless the location was the cause of the interference or for some reason is no longer suitable. Then a similar location should be chosen. Again, proper placement location guidance should be followed. Now, just to be clear, radon quality assurance plans are an important part of the radon measurement process. And so quality assurance must be considered in the placement of all radon measurement devices. A C-NRPP measurement professional shall have developed a quality assurance plan in accordance with the C-NRPP quality control and quality assurance manual for radon sampling and analysis conducted by radon measurement professionals and laboratories. When passive integrating devices are used, duplicate detectors will be placed for 100% of the placements, rather than the recommendations stated in the C-NRPP Quality Assurance Manual. Now, recommendations and requirements. So the radon measurement report must include the following information on the report. So the address, location of the test, measurement professional information, detector information, time and date, radon test duration, device details, any recommendations, measurement results, temporary conditions, any deviations, and this radon mitigation system status. And so we have included a sample report in the Appendix C of the document. Here is what our sample report. So again, it doesn't have to look like this. This is a sample, but these requirements must be on the test report. So we're just going to quickly go through some of the differences between these two guidances. So as I mentioned, this covered the guidance for conducting short-term radon measurements in air. We do have an additional webinar that will go through all of the guidance documents in the CARS guideline for conducting a radon screening assessment as part of a real estate transaction. But we thought we'd highlight some key differences between those two documents. So in the real estate guidance, we have added a definition called the radon screening assessment, which is a radon test with a duration of at least 4 days to 7 days, generally conducted during the real estate transaction to assess the likelihood of elevated radon levels in a dwelling. Therefore, it's a minimum of 4 days, which is different than this document is a minimum of 48 hours. There's also stronger language in that document about using an unbiased third party. We've added red, yellow, and green indicators on the report and included action statements. Test placement adds that the location chosen in the basement in cases where the basement could potentially be converted into living spaces, and it includes additional considerations such as anti-interference measurements, non-interference agreement, long-term test followed up after the new occupant is in the home, and it requires additional statements on the radon test report. We do have various documents, so on the bottom of this slide, you can find the website for the C-NRPP resource documents, but the following documents are on that page: the Quality Control and Assurance Manual for Radon Sampling and Analysis conducted by radon measurement professionals and laboratories. The C-NRPP list of radon measurement devices is also found on the C-NRPP website, and then also the 3 appendices that are included in this document can also be found on the website in a Word document so that they're easy for you to use and resources for your business. And that concludes our webinar today. Thank you very much. Have a great day.